my awesome statement for the team to remember. So this is the same presentation I gave last year. And then hopefully you guys won't be too bored by it, and I updated it and let you know the ins and outs of the program. I'm hoping everyone can hear me well.
Sound good.
Awesome, thank you. I'm Brian, I'm with the Denver Peak Academy, and it's pretty simple. I'm originally from Denver. I grew up about a mile from the photo here that you see at the bottom of the page, and I'm a diehard Bronco fan, as well as the author of the Denver Peak Academy's book, which is Peak Performance. Our whole focus in our program is trying to figure out ways to innovate without three simple things. And the first simple thing that we try to innovate without is money. So we do all of our innovations without new money. And then we also push people to do all their innovations without technology, which is very simple to try to get out of the world that technology fixes everything. And then we also encourage people to innovate without using more resources like people. So no new headcounts in your innovations. And over the course of the last 5 years, we've received a lot of accolades from different organizations, including governing, innovations in American government from Harvard, Fast Company, Living Cities, and even What Works Cities has given us a lot of praise and a lot of support. So we couldn't be doing what we're doing without a lot of that celebration. So here's another thanks to all of them. But our real focus is how do we increase the capacity of our organization to provide more services. And what we do is train people in process improvement techniques, different problem-solving techniques and behavior techniques to move them through innovating themselves. And over the course of the last few years, we've trained over 6,000 employees and have saved the city around $22 million. And we try to figure out how do we measure if we're doing good or if we're not doing good. So we look at identified savings versus actual savings, and identified savings is things that people think we should work on, but haven't actually taken place. And then there's the actuals, which are, hey, not only should you work on this, but this is what we did in making it happen. We then measure things based on soft or hard dollars. So soft dollars are time, hard dollars are budgetary savings. And what we look to do is try to save as much as time, because if we save a lot of time in our service delivery, we're actually increasing our capacity to do more things and actualizing, up to $9 million in hard and $13 million in soft. And as you can see from the chart in front of you, it's slowly building over the last few years. We're actually nervous that last year was an anomaly. So we're looking at all of the innovations that took place last year to see if something weird happened or if we're not counting it properly. So we have those three rules, which is no new money, no new technology, no new people, but we also add this caveat: focus on things within your control and not things that are outside of your control. So if you can control a form, we want a individual to do that. And that's what we run, is a decentralized innovation program that allows our line level staff to provide services to everyone and also provide the innovations and the best ideas. So what is the real difference that happens? So number one, we teach people how to say yes. It's something that people have a hard time with, but over the course of our program, we've noticed that the more we teach people to say yes, the better off we are. Find any technique that'll work. Don't worry about techniques and being beholden to a single technique. Do anything you possibly can to help solve the problem. Know that you're going to fail. And not only are you going to fail, but 50% or over 50% of the innovations that we put forward actually fail. Only innovate with what you have. Don't try to come up with the best thing possible that doesn't exist. Think in terms of the MacGyver way. And the MacGyver way is whatever I have in this room, I'm going to be able to help solve a problem with. Try to keep things on a scoreboard or a performance dashboard or even just a post-it note scorecard. Make things easier to tackle by shrinking them, and then make it funny and fun. That is a big difference. So most people think that working in government is like the House of Cards, where people treat everyone really poorly. They want to like push people into trains, or they just hate each other, and they're constantly trying to outperform them. Most of us who work in government think it's more like Lincoln, and everyone's trying to figure out the best way to do stuff, and you're going to solve these really big problems. But for the most part, working in government is actually like Parks and Rec. We are a series of unfortunate events. We're absolutely caring so much about people who yell at us. But if you think about it, if you watch that show at all, you know how much of us are very similar to it. But for our customer, it's totally different story. Our customers are used to standing in lines and dealing with us. And in the photo I'm showing you right now, this is a photo of an Apple store that's about to launch a new Apple product. And I'm getting some feedback from somebody. If they wouldn't mind hitting mute, that would be great. Oh, thank you so much. The Apple product at the end of this line, you're going to get something new. You're going to get something fun. And most of the time, we actually don't give you what you want. So let's just talk about a very simple process, and that would become so getting a marijuana license to provide marijuana to the citizens or residents of Denver. It's actually a process that we've worked on and worked on really hard. Most people who go through that think of it in terms of it really is kind of a maze, and you're constantly trying to figure out which way's in and which way's out of this maze. And if you guys remember the movie, The Maze Runner, everyone dies basically by these sort of like weird things. Well, dealing with the government, most people feel like that's the case, where everyone is going to die in the end. But if you are one of the people who want to start a business, you decide to call 311. And like 14,000 of your friends here in Denver, you called 311 and we put you on hold. And then we decided to transfer you to that organization. So you call 311, you want to launch this business, we transfer you to excise and licenses, and they don't answer the phone. It actually goes to voicemail. And at the end of that, it says, beep, this mailbox is full. And in that case, you can't even tell them or ask them a question. You now get frustrated. We acted like your call was important to us, and it really wasn't, because we put you on hold and then threw you into a voicemail box that was full. Well, if that occurs to you, what do? Well, you go to the website to try to get your license. And in this case, we do business licensing for exotic dancers. Hopefully you all are paying attention to the slide deck. But we have a website, and you go onto this and you're like, oh, how do I become a business in this area? And you go through all of our website and you realize, oh my God, this doesn't tell me anything. I need to figure out how to do this. So you come in to ask a question. And this is what the lines in the city sometimes look like. Fortunately, this is the Great American Beer Festival in Denver, and this is the line that takes place at the Great American Beer Festival. So if you're wanting to come to Denver, this is one of our top selling points. You should definitely come to this extravaganza. However, sometimes our lines, even in our permit center or our excising center, can be up to 200 people long. And if it is, it's absolutely overwhelming. So if 14,000 people don't get their phone call answered, can't find information on the website, they come in. And then This is what your lobby looks like. Really angry individuals, or in this case, celebrating the Broncos Super Bowl as a enormous party erupts in your lobby. Well, normally they're not this happy. They are upset or frustrated, and they're trying to figure out how to get their business up and running. Well, if that's occurring, your team gets really, really frustrated. So you think of ways to innovate. And you want to make things as easy as, puppies and ice cream. So our team decided at the time to put in a frozen yogurt machine to calm people down while they waited for 2 hours to 8 hours in order to get their business license. Yes, we put in a frozen yogurt machine, and not just a frozen yogurt machine. We put in an award-winning frozen yogurt machine. This is an article about the frozen yogurt machine that we put in and won a customer service award. Well, this drove me absolutely nuts, obviously, and I'm sure many of you have seen something similar to this in the past. But a frozen yogurt machine doesn't actually get you what you wanted or get you what you came for. So we started to work with this team to figure out ways to innovate. And a lot of our rules are make sure things are safe, make sure they're fun, and make sure you can innovate. And the first time that you try it, you typically fail. The second time you try it, you typically almost succeed. And then in the end, you typically have success. So you're going to have multiple failures in doing so. You can actually see Mayor Hancock in this photo throwing a paper airplane against the wall. You can see our team members fixing the potted plants in one of our parks, and then you can see some of the production boards that they made to talk about it. So here are the techniques that we use. Remember, you can use any technique, no new technology, no new money, and only innovate with the things that you have, also within your control and influence. So we did a dissection. What was our current state in this organization? Well, there were 85 licensing coming in per day. Around 40% of the licenses were coming in to the lobby for unknown reasons. We also had an average wait of 35 minutes, but at peak hours, it was about 3 hours. The voicemail had been full for over 3 months, and it took someone multiple days to clear out the voicemail. We had 14,000 open records in our 311 system, and we were getting almost 1,000 calls just on marijuana alone. Well, we knew we needed to figure out what the data was telling us first. So we jumped in looking at data for merchant guards. Merchant guards are security guards. HERDIC licenses or HERDIC questions, that's for taxis. And then we had marijuana, and we had all sorts of things. And what we realized is with 200 license types, 50% of the volume was coming from a series of 5 different licensing. And our challenge to any organization is try to make the change smaller to handle so that you can do one at a time. We knew if we took these 5 licenses and made them the easiest licenses on the planet, we could actually deliver a better product for every other license type and reduce the time it takes to get the actual license in person. So we require everyone in that team to come up with something to innovate on. And what we mean by that is everyone in that team had to come up with a way to reduce the time it takes to get a license. Reduce the time it takes to get a license was one of our key performance indicators. And so we figured out a way to help 311 to reduce the calls that were coming into the office. We figured out a way to put up signs so that people would know which direction to go. And then the total savings for this organization was just around $250,000. And one of the sort of more celebrated innovations that we've seen. We've had a change in directors in this organization, and we're still running a 15-minute wait time. And our delivery of the permit or the delivery of the license is still happening 75% of the time. Here's a couple of the really cool innovations they put in. The first one on the top is a sign, which is awesome. We had them put in the sign because one of the cashiers were interrupted 60 times in one day asking where the bathroom was. Each interruption was about a minute. Each transaction was taking us about 5. So this individual could do 6 more transactions every day if we could figure out a way to tell people where the bathroom was. Also, you can see we put in an area where you could do your own criminal history background check. That allowed for people to print out their criminal history without us telling them that their packet was incomplete. You need your criminal history. We found these computers in surplus and connected them to the internet. So there was no sort of purchase there. And then we saw something dramatic happen. We saw wait times go from 47 minutes to 5 minutes. We averaged around 5 to 6 minutes for almost 2 years in this exact area. So let me show you a quick video, and then hopefully I can show you our database and a couple other things. Jen, is the video working?
Looks good.
Everything from taxi licenses and security guards to liquor and marijuana. We have about 24,000 people come to our
Anyone who wants to be any kind of a security guard has to come through the Department of Excise and License to get the merchant guard certification. If our employees don't get their badges in time, then they don't get scheduled for shifts. They don't get paid. So it's really important to be able to get this pushed through as fast as possible.
Every second counts. The customers that are waiting in the lobby, the customer waiting at your station. You have people just staring at you like, come on, hurry up. You want to get in here and get out.
A couple years ago, the department put in a frozen yogurt machine. Because the wait times were so bad, we would serve frozen yogurt to you while you waited.
What happened is you had a certain amount of time every day on the front counter and a certain amount of time at your desk, and so the stuff at the desk would just get ignored. So not only were our wait times terrible, but the backlog to get something processed was also way too long.
People didn't have time to answer the voicemail. It took somebody off the counter and they spent 3 entire days listening to a voicemail box that had been full for over 3 months.
We have a giant cabinet with all of our forms in it, and whenever someone came in and said, hey, can I just grab a packet for merchant guard, they had to walk to the file cabinet, pull all the forms individually, staple them together. It was pretty frustrating.
It was really hard to find information about our licenses on 40% of people that were coming to our counter were being turned away. They weren't able to complete a transaction. One day I received a text message from our line supervisor, and she told me we had an 8-hour wait. It was time for a change. The first phone call I made was to Peak Academy.
Everyone on the frontline staff was charged with coming up with one simple innovation targeted at reducing that customer wait time. The A3 template is the template we use to walk employees through making a change and making an innovation.
We've implemented well over 3 dozen A3s. Some of those A3s are a result of spaghetti diagrams that we did. We've processed mapped our highest volume licenses.
We've done little things. They were easy fixes, but they were huge time savers. We got really inexpensive desktop printers. Now each person has them at their station. It seems silly because it's how many paces from your desk to the printer, but it's all time. We've done some really good things to make sure we come in with complete paperwork. One of our employees created the packets, and so someone can come in and grab one off the wall, and it's got every form they need to complete.
Saves us a lot of time of having to go hunt down each individual document for each particular license.
The website has been updated. The forms are all there. They're all downloadable, so people can have exactly what they need.
We've created a culture that really values standard work.
We're more efficient than we were before. Our customers are happier. We're less frustrated. I think the employees feel empowered, knowing that they had an idea that was appreciated and implemented.
Fantastic to have the reliability of knowing that this office is going to be efficient and quick.
Just from our basic innovations, we've saved about $85,000 by having our wait times reduced dramatically, and we're on track to saving $250,000 of our customers' time. There's no greater gift that we can give a city than their time.
Well, and one of the things that Stacy hopefully showed to everyone here is that this wasn't that extravagant of work. And what we did was help them find little things that really helped. In the end, we had, I believe, over 70 different innovations that help them reduce the time it takes to get a business license. They also reduced the people walking away empty-handed, where we had a 40% coming in and not getting what they want. I believe right now we're down to 25%, where people are coming in and still not getting what they want the first time. But from that area, from 40% going away empty-handed to 25% away going empty-handed, reduces the amount of workload that you have tremendously. And it's a spectacular way for us to do it. All of the things that we work on is trying to get as many people focused on one key performance indicator at the same time, and it allows us to be really creative in the type of work that we do. And just so you know, most of what I just discussed is actually in a book that we wrote a couple years ago called Peak Performance. You're welcome to pick it up on the URL below, which is denverpeak.com. And you can also pick it up on Amazon. And if you have any questions about the book or about what we were able to do, feel free to shoot me an email at any time. And we love to talk about it and love to work on it. We also have cities around the country who have come to Denver to learn the training techniques and philosophies that we've done. You're welcome to do that. I know that our friends in Kansas City, in Jackson, Mississippi, in Miami, in Los Angeles, and other locations have all come to Denver. Our wait list right now for people outside of the Denver metro is about 4 to 5 months. So just be a little patient with us as we deal with the demand, and know that we know this innovation world and service delivery is more of a marathon than a sprint, and it allows us to get a lot of our work done. That's it for the actual presentation. Why don't I take some questions while I try to load up the database so you guys can see our innovation database and why I can go over why we created it. Any questions about what we do?
This is Madeline from Results for America. If anyone has questions, you can either unmute yourself and ask that way, or you're welcome to share your questions in the group chat through the Zoom app, and that works as well. Brian, do we still have you on the line? All right, if we can just give him, we're going to give him a couple minutes to jump back on the line. I think he maybe has cut out, but hang tight for a second and we've got some questions happening in the group chat that we'll relay to him as soon as he's back on.
Hey, I lost you guys on video, so I called in. So I can take questions while I try to load the video back up.
Great, welcome back. We have a couple questions. This is Madeline. We have a couple questions that came to the group chat. I'm sorry? So we have a question from Shannon. I'm not sure which city she's from, but she says, silly, but that form that you use to keep folks on track with problem brainstorming and experiments, is that available online for us to adapt to our needs? That's her question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So our technique is an A3 template. We've been using an A3 template for a long time. We actually have a new template that we're using. It's called the Innovation Form, which we thought was really creative. But we have that availability, and it is on our website. If you go to denvergov.org/peak academy, it is listed there.
Great, thank you. And then the next question that we have comes from our friends at South Bend. It says, can you tell us more about the quick codes workshop mentioned on one of the slides, which reduced the calls transferred from 311?
Yeah, so quick codes are a way for us to create what is known sort of in the normal world of frequently asked questions. And the quick codes allowed us to automatically answer someone's question. So we create frequently asked questions from a group of data that we get from 311 call center with frequently asked questions. We answer them, and then we train the 311 techs on how to answer that question using a quick code so that the information never gets transferred to another group.
Great, thank you. That's all of our group chat questions as of now. Anyone else from the line would like to jump in here?
Well, I'm hoping to get back on the video here, but a few years ago, we created a database in Access, and what we tried to do was make sure that we could get all of our innovations into one centralized place. What happened, unfortunately or fortunately, is the system kept breaking down the larger and larger it got, and the more and more innovations that took place. And as the more innovations took place, it became more and more frustrating for a lot of people to put information in there. And so we went out and got an agreement with Salesforce to build a innovation database. And that database actually follows a participant. So anyone who has ever taken a training from us goes through a series of trainings with us or workshops with us. And what we've been able to do over the last 5 years is put all of that information, including every form they've ever submitted, into it. So what we can do is follow the individual on every single thing that they've been able to accomplish. It helps our team sort of track all of the things that are going on in the city and some of the fun parts of what we're doing. So it is a very simple system that we put in place. And right now we have about 2,500 different innovations in there, and about 6,000 employees have their own private piece in there. I'm going to keep using the phone, but I'm going to try to show you guys this on my screen if I can, and try to pull up a wonderful website. So let's see if we can get another screen going, please. I hope you guys are seeing this.
Brian, is it okay if we take another question?
Yeah, take another question because it just lost you again. So I'll just do questions as opposed to showing you the database.
Great. The next question we have is from Brendan Babb in Anchorage, and he says, have you worked with training a city department and outside partners on a goal at the same time, and how has that differed from all internal training?
Yeah, so we have worked with departments, and we work with departments one-on-one, and there are 10 people on my team. The 10 people on the team do all sorts of different work. So we have 5 individuals on the team who get assigned to other organizations like Public Works or Excise and License. And what they'll do is over the course of a year, they'll sit with a team and focus on one KPI, and then we'll devise a plan in order to attack it. So we might have 30 to 40 innovations that take place. And what you saw in that video was a result of a year-long worth of work with that one agency in what we call an innovation plan, where we attack multiple things. So even in the case what you saw with Excise, we deployed some behavioral economics that were taught to us from BIT, and we deployed some of the techniques that we learned from Johns Hopkins and the GovX team on how to get the data, where to get the data from. But in that case, we worked with the team for a year, training them not in our normal trainings, but in their own private training.
Great, thank you. And then we have one more question from our friends at Virginia Beach, who asks, who owns the database? That is, who's responsible for the care and feeding of it?
Yeah, so our team, the 10 people on my team own the database. The 20 others, there are a total of 20 peak employees in the city. So 10 people work directly with our team, and then 10 others are matrix managed, meaning they work in another department, but they do a lot of peak stuff. And in that case, we have licenses for 20 people, and my team is in charge of the database. We're also in charge of fixing it when it's not doing well. And if you ever, if my computer was working, I could show you the Power BI setup that we have with it, where we do validations, meaning we look for errors in the data. We have a series of 10 different validations that we run on our data on a weekly basis. I'm really embarrassed I can't show you guys the database. Almost as embarrassed as I am for dropping off the video conference, but I'm glad I decided to call you. Do you have any other questions?
We have one from Samantha Timko, who asks, would you be able to send us screenshots or the like of the database?
Yes, I'll put screenshots of the database I'll send them to Madeline and Jen, and you guys can send it out to the group.
Great.
I got
share them out
kicked out of Slack last year.
We'll try and get you back on Slack, but we'll be sharing all of your resources on Slack.
You didn't kick me out of Slack. My TS team kicked me out of Slack.
Gotcha.
You guys are great. A couple things I would tell you as far as the What Works City side of what we've done, if you guys are interested. The What Works team really helped us on the behavioral economics side. So using the BIT team and figuring out ways that we could increase people showing up to court on time, figuring out ways we could create the right signage around Bronco games so that we weren't towing as many vehicles. We've also used it at the DMV to try to get more people going online at the DMV. We've used it with business payment of taxes, so getting more businesses to use our GenTax system so that they're paying their taxes online as opposed to coming into the office and paying with a check. We are running a randomized control trial on getting more people to pay their wastewater bills online right now. We're hoping to launch, actually it launches July 1st, so it should be happening here pretty soon. And then we're working again on failure to appear in court. We spend around $60 million a year in failure to appear, and we think that most of the people who are failing to appear could appear in court, and they're currently not appearing. In fact, we have about a 40% rate of non-appearance in most of our courts. And we're using the What Works Cities technique, the BIT technique specifically, to try to get more people using the right messaging to get them into court for petty offenses.
Great, thank you. I'm going to share your final slide with your contact information in case anyone would like to shoot you a question that way as well another time.
Yes, that is so great. And again, I love that technology failed me right at the end of the video. You would think it would have failed at the video, but it failed at the end of the video. So thank you so much for your patience with me.
Any last questions from folks on the phone or through the app? Great. Okay, thank you everyone, and big thank you to Brian. We will be sharing out both the video from this office hours, which was recorded, and we'll continue to share any information that Brian would like for us to pass along to all of you through Slack.
Yeah, and what I'll do tonight or tomorrow is put together a series of screenshots of the database and our validations in Power BI so people can see how we're checking on our own stuff. But all of the charts that I showed in the very beginning are Power BI charts that we created out of our Salesforce database. And those charts and everything are uploaded and actually recreated every day. So our stuff's coming fresh out of our system every single day. We probably don't need it daily, but it's something that we have. We actually were hoping to have it monthly, but when my team figured out how to use Power BI, they were able to create a direct link into it. So we don't have the issue of refreshing or trying to run queries. Every single day that I open Power BI, it's up and running, and it's fresh data from the day before, or actually 2 hours before. Well, thank you so much, Madeline and Jen and Zach and Simone and the rest of the What Works team. You guys are amazing. And if anyone has questions or emails, please feel free to give me a call or an email, and I'd love to tell you more about the program. And if you are interested in coming to Denver to learn more, feel free to reach out to me on the email that Madeline's showing you all now. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everyone.
Anytime.
Bye.